So, are you guys sales guys or are you technicians?
Yeah, it depends. Some of us are better at sales. Some of us are whiz bang techs. We all have strengths and weaknesses, but we're technicians. Like I said, you know, I a lot of us serve as consultants who have technical solutions. Um, as businesses scale,
Hmm.
a lot of times you tend to see the founders of technician companies not doing as much of the tech work and doing a little bit more business development. Um, but at the end of the day, we're all really good at fixing coffee equipment.
Hmm.
Some of us are better than other at sales.
This episode is proudly brought to you by Mapper Forward's workshop. It's time to become a coffee consultant. Learn how to diversify your revenue streams and create freedom from your day job while saying goodbye to that alarm clock forever by becoming a consultant within the coffee industry or directly to consumers who have shifted towards home brewing and home roasting. Protect your income from challenging times in the coffee value chain by taking this course today. Go to mapperforward.coffee/workshops or click the link in the show notes for details. Welcome to the Daily Coffee Pro by Mapper Forward, friends. I'm your host, Lee Safar, and this is episode 2 of a five-part series where we are talking about the fact that there's something interesting going on with the espresso techs around the world. And joining me for this series is Spencer Perez. Spencer's company name is Coffee Machine Service Company. Is that correct?
That's right.
Excellent. You're based in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And this whole conversation kind of came around because of some interesting things that we have been talking about on the podcast since Chicago happened for SCA Expo. And in today's episode, we are going to be talking about why espresso techs are rather invisible in this industry. And we only really pay attention to them when we need them. So when an espresso machine breaks down or a water tower breaks down and we're like, do we call an espresso tech or is there somebody else that we're meant to call in a situation like that? And Spencer, in the last episode, we kind of touched on the fact that because you guys are invisible, you occupy a unique space in the industry. So why do you think it is, and what is it that you guys are learning about the industry that you can share with us?
Yeah. So, I came up working for like most people in coffee for a roastery or a
Hmm.
cafe. And this culture, it's, there's a degree to which those institutions are monocultural, right?
Hmm.
Like, yes, you have the influence of your customers, um, but you're building this culture and you're sort of in, at least my experience is that we're sort of in friendly competition with other coffee companies. When I became a technician, I wasn't even thinking about this, but one of like the very early on, I realized like, whoa, I'm working with everybody. And like it's not about me trying to express myself anymore. It's not about me trying to
Mm.
I mean, there's a degree to which it is, but so you have to the perspective that you have to take when you're working with manufacturers, many manufacturers, many clients who all are trying to run thriving coffee companies in your town. Um, it's different. You have to sort of be less active and more receptive. And so anyway, as a byproduct of that, technicians tend to be very well connected and our networks are quite large. Um, and uh, yeah, so technicians really function in a way as sort of like a mycelium. You know,
Right.
we are taking from and nurturing
The
many of these
environment.
different, yeah, the whole environment. Um, and mycelium are invisible, they're underground.
Right.
Um, and so I don't know that I like lament. I really like that aspect of what I do. that people will divulge to me things they wouldn't really tell anybody else. Um, there's a lot of responsibility there, but
Hmm.
it helps me start to synthesize a picture of um, my local economy,
Hmm.
uh, and the broader economy that I don't think a lot of uh, other jobs or trades in this industry get that kind of insight.
I got to ask, what's the relationship between espresso techs and the manufacturers?
Yeah, it depends on the manufacturer, depends on the tech. Um, there are certain manufacturers um, who have been sort of gobbled up by private equity,
Hmm.
um, who maybe used to produce a really good product and put a lot of money into supporting that product and supporting the people, the technicians who were selling and servicing that product, and now are more concerned with moving units to pay dividends to shareholders. Um, Working with companies like those is difficult because the money from the sale of equipment is really, really important to technicians. We can run a company, we can sort of sustain a company on
Hmm.
service revenue, but to hire and train talent, to develop new services for people, to scale so that there are more technicians available, we
Right.
really need those influxes of cash. So when we get called by one such manufacturer and they want to pay the cheapest price they can to have a machine installed that they sold to somewhere where there's no support, they call us, and it's like, we sell that machine, and we work with you. We sell your machine. We represent you. You could have sent us that lead, made the same profit that you're accustomed to making when you sell it through Visions or Espresso Parts or whatever,
Hmm.
but you kept all the profit, and now you want me to do the install for $300. And there was a time when I think technicians were like uh more interested in that kind of work, but none of us are really hurting for work anymore. So our relationships with manufacturers vary. Like, if a manufacturer is sending us leads and the equipment is excellent and they support it, there's a few things, that we use to vet a manufacturer. But if all of those things come together, like, we are the most potent sales force, I think, in the industry for equipment. Um, because it's not about selling the first machine. The manufacturers and us want the client to buy their second machine from us, right?
Hmm.
So, like, you can run a deal online for 30% off and undercut all the technicians, but when no one shows up to install it and no one services it, that customer's perception of that brand is deteriorated. We can be the boots on the ground for manufacturers who make sure that they have an exceptional experience with your equipment. But we want to be very well compensated for it. And yeah, seriously, if
I agree with
like,
you, man. I'm
we've
tired of
been
the
stomped
espresso
on.
machine manufacturers fucking
Yeah,
everyone over.
yeah. So like the ones who give great support and who are sending us leads, um, or even they'll make the sale and then throw us the profit margin, like to take the install and have the relationship with the client long term. Because, like, if you buy a machine online and then I get an email to install the machine and I do install the machine, I'm going to be the one you're calling. you know you're going to be texting me on a Sunday, like, and
Mm,
like, for $300 it's not worth it, you know like,
right.
uh I did so we're just getting a lot choosier about which manufacturers we work with, and which clients we take on. We're all pretty full, uh with work. So that we have some great relationships with great manufacturers that are very collaborative and generative. And then there are other manufacturers who don't really care about the user's end experience. They really do just want to move units. And that's been reflected in the cheapening of the construction of some of those pieces of equipment.
Now, I know we were supposed to be talking about like why you guys are invisible. And in the next
Yeah.
episode, we were talking about the relationship between techs and manufacturers. But this really does come together in an important way because in my mind, when I was coming up in the industry, whenever you wanted to know which espresso machine you should be getting, we spoke to techs. But that was 20 years ago. And over that time, I have witnessed techs become more and more in the background and the espresso machine manufacturers be more and more on the foreground with all the marketing and social media. And they really, from what I witnessed, really push the techs into the background. And I have heard of some disgusting behavior in the way that happens. So why do you think they did that? Why do you think that you guys have been pushed out? Is it a financial thing? Is it a branding thing? Is it a monopoly thing? What's the go?
Yeah, I think it's a combination, like with the proliferation of social media. And we saw it even before social media. Like I remember, in like the late aughts, the whole thing was like this West Coast cafe got a 3-group strata, and that's what gave them clout. Was like, whoa, you bought this super fancy machine and the shop looked beautiful. And then you'd hear story after story of how the coffee sucks. And like, but like sex sells and equipment is sexy and pictures of equipment online are sexy. And, with SEO and social media and people who are way better at leveraging those resources, I think that the path to moving units faster is online for sure. Like techs can't beat the volume of sales that the online presence can, whether that's Instagram or
Right.
or online resellers, but we can develop loyal customers who are going to open more cafes, and we're investing in their success. So I'm going to bring it kind of like with coffee farmers. The manufacturers wanted to get the most money that they could. I think they also had a lot of experiences with bad technicians, people who themselves were playing the short game and took a very combative stance with manufacturers who didn't know coffee, weren't developing loyal customers. And they said, man, there aren't good techs are so few and far between. We don't want to deal with them. We're just going to do the sales, direct or whatever. But like a farmer, the industry wants excellent product at the cheapest price. And that just doesn't work for the long term. And yeah, exactly. So, I think we also lack the resources to increase visibility. Like a lot of us are so busy in the field and don't want to take on like huge amounts of debt to make a website. Like our business is so relational and local that like you don't really need all of that to get off the ground. But then when it comes time to scale, you have to figure out, all right, how am I going to allocate revenue and resources to increase visibility? And that's the type of thing we really need equipment sales for, which pays dividends back to the manufacturers.
So are you guys sales guys or are you technicians?
Yeah, it depends. Some of us are better at sales. Some of us are whiz bang techs. We all have strengths and weaknesses, but we're technicians. Like I said, a lot of us serve as consultants who have technical solutions. As businesses scale, a lot of times you tend to see the founders of technician companies not doing as much of the tech work and doing a little bit more business development. But at the end of the day, we're all really good at fixing coffee equipment. Some of us are better than others at sales.
Okay. Because it sounds like I remember having this sort of argument with one of the manufacturers that will remain unnamed in Australia in 2018. And it kind of clicked onto this idea that because coffee roasters in Australia need to give their clients an espresso machine, at least one, mostly two grinders, and perhaps a water tower, just to like say, yes, I will use your coffee for the year. Coffee roasters end up becoming proxy salespeople for equipment manufacturers. And now a coffee roaster, which it sounds like much like espresso technicians, and now serving as the sales force for espresso manufacturing machines or equipment manufacturing machines, when that's really not what they got into the business for, because you have to carry a significant financial risk in order to have a number of machines on hand in order to be ready to service that market as quickly as possible. When did that become okay?
Oh, well, the culture developed a little bit differently. And I don't have direct experience with it in Australia than it has in the United States. And
with
even
you guys, with service techs, like when did it become okay for you guys to be the sales force for the espresso manufacturers?
I think we've always wanted to be.
Oh,
It's always been okay
it's
for
different.
us.
Okay.
Yeah. I think if I'm understanding the question correctly, like,
I guess the difference is you guys sell the machines and it's no longer your responsibility. Whereas with the roasters, they're not selling the machines, it's included as a bundle. So now I see what the difference is there. You don't lease the machine to your clients, do you? You sell the machine to your clients.
no, we sell the machines, and I would say it is our responsibility. We are the warranty holders for any equipment that we sell, and at least for the first year, even if it's not formally agreed to, there's sort of a certain understanding, like even if the customer is terrible, for the first year through the warranty period, we are going to service that machine. But what we really want to do is help them develop their business so that they're selling more coffee. And then maybe they want to open another cafe or whatever. They buy their second machine from us, So it's our responsibility insofar as even if we didn't sell the machine, if we show up for the install, they are going to want to contact us anytime they have questions about how to use the machine. And and the manufacturers want that too. I don't think the manufacturers really want to be doing remote tech support all that bad. Like, they want boots on the ground. They want people in the cafes giving the manufacturers feedback, bringing information from the manufacturer to the cafe about software updates or tech bulletins about engineering changes. So it very much is maybe not in a big moral sense, it's not our responsibility, but it ends up, we're the ones who end up the custodians of that equipment, for the life
and you
of
want
the
to be, right?
Yeah, for the right customer, and if we're properly compensated for it, yeah, we absolutely want to be. We want strong partnerships where we can bring our expertise, our networks, our connections to your cafe to help you thrive. And if you invest in us, we want to invest tenfold back in your operation.
Okay.
But we don't want to do that if you go and buy the cheapest espresso machine that you can find online, and then you're not following our recommendations for daily user maintenance, and you don't want to pay us to maintain the machine. These machines need regular planned maintenance. And if you want to do it as cheaply as possible and not maintain the machine, you're not going to get a lot of sympathy when something breaks.
Okay.
Yeah.
There are a lot of interesting directions I'm going to take this conversation in the next episode, folks, because that tangent's worked very well for us. I promise you. Join us in the next episode. This is about to get we're going to talk about golden espresso machines. So join us in the next episode. Peace, love, and peanut butter. Have an amazing rest of your day. I really hope you enjoyed this episode, friends. Please don't forget to show us some love by subscribing, liking, commenting, and most of all, sharing this podcast with your friends. Check the show notes for links, including our sponsors and our Patreon. And stay tuned for more great conversations on the Daily Coffee Pro by Map It Forward.